Hello everyone, my name is GetGoodGladdio and welcome back to Civilization 6. Today we'll be talking about the Pantheons. I will give you general advice about the Pantheons, and then I will give you a ranking system on which Pantheons are the best and the worst. Alright, so some general advice concerning Pantheons. On standard speed, in order to unlock the ability to get a Pantheon, you need 25 faith. Also, a Pantheon can only be chosen once. No two civilizations can have the same Pantheon. And getting a Pantheon early is more beneficial, because you can get the better Pantheons earlier on before others get them, and you get their bonuses earlier. Now I will talk about the ranking system and how I rank all 23 Pantheons. These Pantheons are ranked from value. How many resources, how many points, how much yield a Pantheon will give you. The 23rd and worst Pantheon on the Pantheon list is Initiation Rites. This one is the worst because it relies on barbarian outpost spawn rates. It is better if a barbarian outpost spawns close to you, but if it spawns a significant distance away from you, it forces you to use your troops in a faraway area and leaves you susceptible to attack. The 22nd Pantheon is Stone Circles. This is near the bottom because there are very few resources you can use a query on. There are about 2 to 3 luxury resources you can query, and you can query stone. The 21st Pantheon is Religious Idols. This one is better than Stone Circles because there are more luxury resources that are mineable than luxury resources that you can build a query on. And the bonus resource you can mine is copper. The 20th Pantheon is Goddess of the Hunt. This Pantheon is not that good because it relies on having camps, and the only resources you can build camps on are furs, ivory, and deer, which is usually found only in the tundra. That frequency of camps makes Goddess of the Hunt rare to use in the first place. The 19th Pantheon is Desert Folklore. If you do encounter a large desert, Desert Folklore isn't as good because if you want to get the +6 faith adjacency bonus, you will most likely have to use 2 tiles of one side of your city, leaving you with only the other half of your city to have workable tiles. This can be useful for one holy site, but if this Pantheon pressures you to settle cities that are close to large deserts, then you may lose a city's yield. The 18th Pantheon, Lady of the Reeds and Marshes. This is in the 18th spot because these are tiles you may want to work anyway. Marsh, an oasis, and a floodplains will give you a large food boost with a little bit extra production. You can continue to work that one tile so that you may keep up with production. However, it is weak in the sense that usually a marsh will be near 1 or 2 other marshes. An oasis usually spawns by itself, and a floodplains may spawn in large groups, but usually they're in the middle of large deserts. The 17th Pantheon is God of War. This is mainly a Pantheon in which you get a reward for playing defensively. However, it relies on enemies attacking you in order to get the bonus. The 16th Pantheon is Goddess of the Harvest. The big problem with this Pantheon is that it both requires you to expand and it requires you to build builders at the same time. So this Pantheon provides too much pressure towards building more builders in order to harvest more. The 15th Pantheon is River Goddess. The big benefit of this is that you can give +1 amenity to practically every city you own. The big problem with this is that usually you want to put your holy sites adjacent to mountains or adjacent to woods for more faith. You're basically trading faith for an amenity. Now for 1 or 2 cities, the amenity might be worth it. But if you put more and more cities down, if you were to put your holy sites next to mountains and woods, you would get even more faith, which will be useful towards making even more missionaries and apostles. The 14th Pantheon, City Patron Goddess. Now you can make a district, stop at the last turn, and then continually build some other districts. But the big problem with that is, 1, you're delaying your districts. You lose the yield, and then you lose time. So you're basically trading production for the yield you would have if you finish the district. And when the game gets longer, districts get more expensive with a turn count. The 13th Pantheon is God of the Sea. On Pangaea, this is mostly useless. However, if you do spawn near the coast, then this Pantheon is useful for a coastal city. God of the Sea also substitutes early farms. This is mainly because farms give +1 food, whereas if you have this Pantheon, a fishing boat will give +1 food and +1 production, which is significantly better. The 12th Pantheon is Goddess of Festivals. This Pantheon is alright, it gives you extra food for your luxury resource plantations, but they are only for those that are listed. The +1 food bonus is very useful in replacing farms. The 11th Pantheon, Monument to the Gods. Now, if you're playing against deity AI, they always beat you. However, if you are playing multiplayer, this is more useful in getting the good early game wonders. Now, although you will never beat China, you can beat other civilizations if you rush a certain technology or civic needed for that wonder. The 10th Pantheon, Dance of the Aurora. This Pantheon is really good because tundra tiles almost always spawn next to each other. However, if you want to capitalize on this Pantheon, you will need to spawn your cities within 2 tiles of tundra. Then you will absolutely need very strong tiles that you are working on. Otherwise, it will be similar to the desert situation, where you will have a very small yield city in which its only purpose is to get faith. The 9th Pantheon is Sacred Path. This one is placed over Dance of the Aurora and Desert Folklore simply because jungles are significantly more common. Even though Desert Folklore and Dance of the Aurora have a bigger potential to give you more yield, you are most likely going to spawn next to rainforest, and thus this will be automatically more useful than the other two. The 8th Pantheon, Earth Goddess. This Pantheon is situational. However, most of the time your spawns will have at least a charming appeal. This is because usually you have quite a few mountains, which give the appeal to their adjacent tiles, such as in this example, where I spawn next to the mountains, and a few of the tiles I will not only work, but have a charming appeal, which will give me +1 faith early on. The 7th Pantheon, Oral Tradition. This Pantheon is good, not because of its bonus however, but because of its selected plantations. Since this bonus applies to bananas, you can therefore spam your cities near bananas, even if it is just 1 banana for extra culture. The 6th Pantheon, God of the Open Sky. This Pantheon is very good because pastures can be made from horses, sheep, and cattle. These resources are fairly common, and you usually spawn with 1 or 2 sources from the start. The 5th Pantheon, God of Healing. Now, this Pantheon, I actually somewhat biased. This is because God of Healing is one of the best defensive Pantheons. If you are being attacked and you do not have that many units, you will place your holy site at either choke point or an area where you can easily defend, and leave a unit or 2 on or adjacent to the holy sites. Since the mentioned tiles are most likely in your territory, your units will heal +30 plus the +15 they get when in your territory, which is +45 worth of healing. This is a strong Pantheon because it greatly stalls the enemy from advancing by using your own units and not having to rely on an encampment. The 4th Pantheon is Fertility Rites. This is a very good all-around Pantheon. If you do not know what to pick, Fertility Rites and the 3rd one are usually ones you want to go, if the best ones are taken. Fertility Rites is good because it grows your cities as if you had extra food. So for example, if I had 10 food in a city, I would get +1 food. I know that doesn't seem like much, but this applies to every single city you own. So it is not as specific as Goddess of the Hunt or Goddess of Festivals, in which you may not have resources for camps or these specific plantations. So on average, it will give you 1 or 2 food, but usually that's more significant than 0 food. The 3rd Pantheon is Religious Settlements. This Pantheon is good because it allows you to expand even faster. This is really good for the early game when you need 1 or 2 additional tiles that have important resources, but it is good all around anyway, since it applies to all of your cities, and all of your cities will get their 1 or 2 extra tiles that much faster. Now, before I get into the second and best Pantheons, here's a little reminder. The second best Pantheon is better in Pangea, is better in continents, and it is better if a civilization is next to you or near you. But the second Pantheon is God of the Forge. This is the Pantheon you want to get if you want to do a rush, or you just simply want to get a large military so you can prepare for attacks or defending. In online speed, this can save you a turn or 2 or even 3, in which you get maybe an extra 1 or 2 units. The only problem with it is that people know this, and they take it anyway. Another problem is If you go for medieval era units, such as if you rush the knight, God of the Forge is useless, because sometimes during the mid-game, you may want to rush the knight in order to get the edge over their swordsman, and thus you will lose your God of the Forge advantage. And finally, the number 1 Pantheon, Divine Spark. This is the best Pantheon simply because it gives great people points. This gives great people points for the holy site, so in a multiplayer game, you may guarantee that you get a great profit. It also gives you great person points for a campus, so that you may get an early great scientist, and get one of the first great writers is very valuable. However, Divine Spark is best if you focus on city building and not conquest. So, if you do focus on conquest and choose Divine Spark in order to focus on your city building, you have conflicting production issues. Thank you all for watching my guide on the Pantheons. If you have any questions, please ask them below. And if you have any arguments to say why one is better than another, then please say it below. I might have forgotten something, or might have not said something, or just simply not know something. So please share it below in the comments if you have any information, or if you have an argument for a Pantheon being higher on the list. But thank you all for watching, and I hope this helps you get good.